to tell them? You want me to start? Okay, I'll start. What's up, you guys? Forrest here with the FoCo Flow Show. If you're new to the channel, then you may not realize that we are standing in a brand new home bike shop. So we've had a lot of fun all over the last year or so, and you may have been following me on Instagram, realize we moved about 20 minutes north of Charlottesville to a town called Ruckersville. And with that, we've got a new place to call home here in FoCo's bike shop, and also home, of course, of the FoCo Flow Show. So again, if you're new, welcome to the channel. We do awesome highlighting trail videos all over Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, everywhere that we can get to let you know what kind of awesome trails to ride and what to look out for on those trails. We also do gear review videos, bike review videos, and of course, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about how to put together your very own DIY home bike shop and work table. So without further ado, let's get out there and find that flow. You're not going to talk? All right, fine. I'm going to talk. Shy. So, if you've followed the channel for multiple years, you've seen me do these sort of voiceover monologues from various locations within the garage of some of my other houses in Charlottesville. And ultimately, that works really, really well. So the good news for anybody that's watching this video is what we're going to show you here can be replicated within a garage if you have that, or a basement space. It's not complicated. And of course, as we show you what we have to access here in the new bike shop, you're going to notice a couple of different things. We've got some different dedicated space, which has been really, really helpful. All you really need to pull all of this off is a local hardware store, your Lowe's and your Home Depot, a drill or an impact driver, some decking screws, and some 2x4s and some plywood. You don't need a whole lot more than that, and maybe a friend with a saw that can help you make the cuts that you're going to have to cut. You saw a smaller version of this, like I said, in the other house in Charlottesville, and now we've got a basement space, and that's where you're going to have a chance to see today. You're also going to meet some new friends, no new bikes, but in the new house we had some additional leftover gifts, if you will, from the previous homeowners, and we're going to make them part of the channel as much as possible when we do these videos. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. So starting with the finished product, what you're basically going to see is a 2x4 workshop belt. So it's built on 2x4s with plywood on top. That is the basic work table that we built. And then we also went with a particle board up on the wall to mount all of the tools that you need to hang and easily access. We wanted some storage underneath. And finally, we wanted a mounted on the wall cabinet with some charging capabilities to charge all of the GoPro, bike light, and anything else that needs to be charged that otherwise gets stuck somewhere else in the house. So it's pretty easy to see the basics of what you need isn't super complicated. And to the left, we've got our friend, the palm tree, that for some reason has been left with us. So we're going to make him part of the channel here, more of decoration than anything else. And then we've got some open space for a dedicated bike stand instead of having to store it underneath like before. So getting started, all you really need is a tape measure, and to get an idea how wide and how deep that you want your workshop table to be, that's the best place to start. And you want to know where the studs are in the walls to give you an idea what you're mounting to, because all you're really doing is building out a frame, and then you're cutting them to length, reinforcing them from either side, and then bolting onto the back side the vertical uprights. So get a feel for how high you want the table to be. We're going hip height for us, and of course see what other normal workshop tables are supposed to be. Once you have everything cut to length, use the studs on the wall to use as a basic reinforcement and stability for your table. You're going to drill into the studs and use that as the bracing and the backing to drill the rest of the 2x4s into place using the vertical uprights cut to length to be the stability on the other side, the counterbalance as you put the entire frame together and then bolt it into the studs. Once you have the frame built out, you should have also measured the top piece, which we're using to 2.5 inch or 3/4 inch plywood cut to the exact spacing, the area. We did a little right angle here to lay on top, and we're just using 1/2 inch, not decking screws, but just regular wood screws with a regular impact drill all the way around to put it into place. Once you sort of have it in position, you slide it on, and then you go through drilling every couple of inches to make sure that the entire place is level, using the level that you might have at your in your garage anyways, to make sure everything's level before you lay the plywood on top. Once you have all of that set up, it isn't super complicated, just to lay it on top and then run the drill all the way through across each side. Once you have the basic workbench in place, the next thing that you want to do is figure out how much of the area above the workbench that you want to use for particle board. For simplicity's sake, they come in large sheets at Lowe's. We just grab the biggest one we can and then set it up, laying it on top of the actual workbench, pushed against the studs. And again, using those wood screws, screwing them in every couple of inches, maybe every 3 or 4 holes, all the way around the perimeter. And that's going to allow you to push that into place. And then just off of Amazon, you buy the little particle board hooks. You can get an entire grab bag of assorted hooks for about $20, $25. I'll leave a link in the description. And then you decide what works best for you on the particle board in terms of tools that you're going to use all the time. I have a couple of things on the bench, like the drill, as well as the torque wrench, as well as a few other easily accessible tools like bike sprocket wrenches and things of that nature. Hanging on the wall, I've got a couple of other high-use tools like pliers, wire cutters, spare wires, and cable housing, well as my normal used grease and carbon fiber paste, all of those types of things that you're going to need to get to relatively frequently if you do any amount of your own personal wrenching on the bike. On my 3 different bikes, we're swapping on parts from AliExpress and Amazon and putting different brakes on, as you're going to see in some of the videos here coming up in the future. To give you an idea, installing dropper posts, all of that stuff doesn't need a whole lot more than a torque wrench, wire cutters, screws, assorted Allen wrenches, all of those things. So you want to make sure that you have those easily accessible, as well as a few other high-use parts, maybe some rim tape and a few other things. Not super complicated, but once you get that set up and then arranged, just don't feel married to it, and you can swap it out. The next thing we did was trying to come up with a way to store all 3 of our main bikes here in the bike shop without taking up a ton of room. Right behind the camera is another half part of the room that we use for my home gym, so I didn't want bikes all over the place, and so we went with some very easy to install garage hooks. They screw into studs. I put in some 1/4 inch plywoods up at the top and on the bottom so the tires had places to rest, and then screwed in side by side 2 different mounts to hang the helmets on. This has proven to be super handy. Whenever we need to get a bike off the wall, we unhook it, we grab the helmet, we throw it in the gearbox, and then we're off and running. So to do that, there is not a whole lot else to it, again, other than finding the studs in your walls if you're in a garage, if it's finished. My side of the downstairs basement was actually unfinished, so it was very easy to screw in. We used decking screws to get the actual planks up there on the wall, measuring where the tires hit, and then giving yourself enough options there to hook onto the tire side by side. We do 2 vertical and 1 upside down. The upside down one, mounting by the rear tire, is the hardest to install and the hardest to get on and off, especially because I put it in the middle. So just be leery of that and understand that that's probably going to be the bike that you ride the least of your 3 if you're fortunate enough to have 3 bikes. If you have 1 bike, no big deal. You can just put it on there and that be all that you need. So just to keep in mind all of those things that you're going to have to move a lot, make them as easy to relocate as possible. And then finishing up, once you have all of that, we wanted to install that really nice cabinet up above the workshop. So there's a couple of options like these on Amazon and on Lowe's. We went with the Gladiator cabinet here with magnetic closing doors, and it was really important to me that they had open wiring through the bottom so I could run a power cord through the bottom of the cabinet and then sit on that, a multi-charger with a bunch of different cords. So inside that cabinet, I've got power plugs that are going to quickly charge. I've got a GoPro, I've got an Insta360 camera, I've got an assortment of bike lights for night riding, especially in the winter time. I've got a drone, and all of that stores neat and tidy in there, along with a couple of other connection pieces, and we can just plug them in when we're done, make sure that we check on them once they're fully charged so we don't burn out the batteries, and then we know they're going to be charged for the next ride. So all of that came together really nicely, gave us some extra storage that we didn't have before in our previous bike shops. Installing it is not hard. I would recommend getting the bracket for the Gladiator. That allows you to drill things into studs, and then all you do is hang the cabinet onto the bracket versus trying to drill through the back of the holes of the cabinet into studs. That's really hard. It makes it a 4-person job. Doing it this way with the brackets on the backside, I was able to do it myself and hang it without any issue. So rounding out the bike shop, we don't have a whole lot else that you have to actually build. Again, we've got our friend, the palm tree, that's going to be hanging out with us. I put the dedicated bike stand up so that it's always up and I never have to bring it in and out. We've got some shoe storage there that I use for multiple different types of storage, and I've got some of my smelly mountain bike gear down here on a little rack so that it doesn't stink up the closet that I share with my wife. So Mrs. Flo Show appreciates that very much. So as you can see, after that, there's not a whole lot building to go along with it. Again, below the actual table surface is where I store a lot of the other gear, like we've got the air compressor for mounting tires. We've got extra storage for parts that we don't use quite as much, extra handlebars and posts and some of our hydration packs and things like that. And we've got the main gearbox that we use all the time. Pull them out, take them out to the car, and off we go. So when we get on the trail, we know that we're coming home to a dedicated place where we know everything is and it's easy to work on. It just makes getting back on the trail a whole lot easier. So this is how we set it up. Again, we're not married to it, although everything that's drilled in the studs, I'm probably not touching anytime soon. Now that I've had a chance to work on it a little bit longer, the only thing I might consider doing is extending the actual length of the right angle, so I've got a little bit more of a wider place to work from. Maybe even make it movable or on casters, or possibly a hinge that pulls it out of the way when I need a larger workspace. But again, that's okay. And in the end, if I did really want to change this, it's just yanking all of those screws out with an impact drill and redoing it. It'd be a lot of work, but it wouldn't be impossible. Knowing me, we're going to make this work and expand upon it, but not detract from it unless we need the space for something else. So I really hope that you found this video super, super useful. Again, we've got tons of videos to show you on different DIY or bike install products and product reviews. So that's coming up great, along with more and more trail ride videos that you know and love from this channel. But also make sure that you comment below. Let me know how your favorite bike shop in the house, in the garage, in the basement has come together, and your favorite tips and tricks. If you've got anything that you would recommend for our viewers, that would be always super helpful. We love the community engagement. And of course, if you're enjoying this channel, make sure you like and subscribe and share it with all your friends, family, for anybody that might be interested in getting out on the trail some more, so we can all get out there and find that flow.